Hello everyone, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Let us start with praying. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Hear us, O Lord, when we call upon you. Thankfully, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Through Christ Jesus our Lord, thine the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hello everyone, Christos Anesti, Alisos Anesti. This is the Way series, and this today is the part 14, which is more value, which has more value. Doing miracles and signs, casting out demons, healing the sick, predicting about things happens in the future, or worshiping God with humility, which is of higher value, which has a higher value in front of God. Doing miracles and signs, or worshiping God with humility, with a humble heart. When they asked the saints responded in this manner. They said, really, if you really want to see something that is unique, something that is really important, something that is of very very high value, don't look for people who are casting out demons or or making signs or making miracles, because this is it's okay. But search for someone who is humble, because those who are humble have put on the Lord Jesus Christ. Those who are humble have put on the Lord Jesus Christ. And when you see someone who is meek or humble, you are seeing God in him. It's amazing how the mind and the world and everything around us is all about show-offs, all about popularity, all about being cool, or about being known, all about famous, you name it. But what makes the difference is the humbleness of the heart. There is a very nice verse in the book of Joshua of Sirah, and he mentioned this: for gold is tested by fire, and the Lord tests men in the furnace of humiliation. For gold is tested by fire. If you this wedding ring that I have, if you want really to test it to make sure that this is a high quality gold, or is it good or bad, or you take it and you put it in the fire and you see how long it will last, and based on the temperature you know how intact is the metal. You know the level of purity with different things. For gold is tested by fire, but the Lord tests men in the furnace of humility. God is testing us in the furnace of humility, in the heat of when we are going through hard time, and how humble we are that we take this test from God. The furnace of humiliation, the furnace of humiliation in some of the translation, atun al-ittiba, or furnace of humility. For gold is tested by fire, but the Lord tests men in the furnace of humiliation or humility. So God is really testing us when we go through hard times, and how we are what's going to come out. Oh Lord, I deserve even worse situation, and I have nothing good in me, and I know that maybe you are pinpointing to my mistakes, to my shortcomings, to my problems, to my sins, to my issues that I have. Or you are going to tell God, why I didn't do anything wrong, and why so and so is having it and I'm not having it, and why they are having better life and I'm not having better life, and they are having better friends or family or whatever. This is how saintly fathers understood the concept of humility. One of the saints, the name of Saint John Climacus, he said this. He said this about humility. Some said it is forgetting every good deed a person did. That people are humble, they will not keep record of the good stuff. Some said, this is Saint John Climacus is saying, some said the person counting himself as the greatest failure or he didn't achieve anything in life. The least and the most sinful of other people. Some of the saints said this. Another said, it is the mind knowing its weakness. I know that I am weak in this stuff, or I have a weakness in this area. It is also crushing one's soul and refusing one's will, to refuse your own will. I say humility is grace in the soul, which no one knows unless he possesses it. It is grace in the soul inside of the heart that no one knows it unless you have it or you feel it in your life. Remember the Lord said in Matthew 11:29, learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. Learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. This is not an angel, not a human being, not something that you acquire. The Lord didn't say, learn from how I do miracles, or how I cast demons, or how I open the eyes of the blind man born blind, or how I did the miracle in the time of Lazarus, and how I raised him from death after 4 days. He never said this. Learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. Lowly in heart. From a book you learn humility. It is not from a book that we learn the humility. It is not that you go and you Google humility and you see how you learn it. The Lord said, learn from me, not from one else, not from anything else, or learn from St. Mary, or learn from the saints. He continued, and you will find rest for your souls. This is the rest from pains and evil thoughts, and rest in the heart, because those who are humble will be easily rested, or will be easily gaining rest in the heart. So it is a profound statement from the Lord, that the Lord is not asking us to learn from anything from him except this Bible verse, Matthew 11:29. Learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart. How many of you, including myself, kneeling in front of God and telling God, please God, teach me how to be humble. Teach me how to humble myself. Teach me how to do this in my life. He is the teacher, and he have asked us to learn from him. And if I'm supposed to learn math class and I'm failing, I go to the teacher and I ask, what can I do? Can you share anything with me? Can you give me any resources, any help, anything? So if the Lord himself is asking us to learn from him, then we should, this should be the prayer of every day. Lord, teach me to learn how to learn from you humility and humbleness of heart. How to learn from you this. I think that Abuna Bishoy Kamil, that departed in Alexandria, was praying this prayer, I think, because he had a very unique story. And in this story, it's a mind-blowing one. A guy was selling fruits in the streets, and in this area, Abuna is leaving his home. He must stop by the guy who is selling, or pass by this guy who is selling fruits on his way to church. So every time Abuna is passing by, this young man, and he will spit on the ground. Just once Abuna is coming. The first time he didn't focus much. Second time he realized that this guy is insulting, and as if he's spitting on Abuna every single day. What a humiliation is this? And you can go back on and on and on, and I can sue him, and we can catch him on camera, and we can post it on social media, and we can get back at. Nothing of this crossed even the mind of Abuna Bishoy. He didn't do anything, and one day he is passing by, he's expecting the blessing that he's going to take by the spit, and the young man was not there. So he asked the one who is covering his job, and he told him, there was a man here, I always used to see him. He didn't tell him he's spitting on me every day, but he told him, where is he? He told him, he's sick and he's not feeling well. So Abuna Bishoy asked about the address of the man, this young man. He went all the way, knocked on the door, and the mom of this young man opened the door. They are not Christians, so she was shocked when she saw Abuna Bishoy Kamil. She told him, if there's anything, can I help you with? He told her, I'm just checking on your son because I knew that he was sick. I just wanted to say hi and to tell him يعني we will be missing him. And he entered into the room where this young man, the non-Christian young man, has been spitting on him on a daily basis. And he just told him, I'm just checking on you because I knew that you were sick. What is this? What is this? Maybe this is one of the lessons that God was sending Abuna Bishoy, because he was praying this prayer. Learn from me. God, I'm sucking, or I suck in meekness. Humility is not it's all about me, about my ego, about my performance, about my power, about my popularity. I'm very far from this, O Lord. How can I come closer to you? Teach me how to learn humility or lowliness of heart. You teach me because I cannot do it, and you told us, learn from me. So if I'm a bad learner, you put me in whatever you want, and I will learn this from you. It is a mind-blowing that this young man, a non-Christian, after many, many years, became Christian, went to the monastery and became a monk because of a visitation of someone who is humble at heart. If Abuna was not humble in his heart, would have said, he deserves it. He had been very mean to me. He did all of this, and can go on and on. There is God is testing me and you in the furnace of humility, as Joshua Sirach is saying. There is a great honor for this virtue of humility, great honor. And today, I will just tell you that even if God is permitting you that you are humiliated in anything, maybe someone is bullying you, or somebody is picking on you, or you are going through something that is very, very crushing, or you have done a mistake and it is exposed to everyone, or sometimes we go through things that are very, very humiliating. But this furnace of humiliation reveals the heart, reveals what is really inside. So there is an honor of the virtue of humility. This great honor, if pride is considered the worst vice, أبشع خطية, the mother which begets, or the mother of vices, أو الخطايا, then without doubt humility is the top mothering virtue, or the mother of all virtues, which begets virtues and saves from many sins. Absolutely the basis of all virtues, hence he who masters humility lays a good strong foundation for building his spiritual life. Look, this has been the purity of the heart and the life of humility has been the number one goals, or number one and number two in the mind of many of the saints. This is what they are striving for, this is what they are hoping for, this is what they are aspiring, this is what inspired them, this is what keeps them going. This is their goal, their ultimate goal, definitely through Christ, because blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So they are telling God, we want to see you, so give us the purity of heart. But the purity of heart is linked to humility, big time. You cannot be having a pure heart without meekness and without humbleness. The more we are prideful, the more we are very, very away from the purity of the heart. One of the saying says the purity of the heart is a gift for those who are humble. The life of purity. حياة القداسة أو الطهارة هي هدية للمتضع. God is giving you a gift of him for that, which is living a pure life, when he sees you living a humble life, or choosing or striving or longing for humble life. So if pride is considered the mother or the worst vice, then humility is the best virtue. And many of the saints, when they were praying for something, they asked God, give us whatever you want us, O Lord. Maybe you want me to cast out demons, maybe you want me to heal the sick, do miracles, whatever. If you want me to do this, give me humility and wisdom. Give me both virtues, so as I will have the wisdom to use it, and I have the humble heart that will not make me elevated or haughtily or thinking highly of myself, and then I fall, and this will be my end. لأن قبل الكسر الكبرياء, before brokenness there is pride. It's a rule. Before brokenness there is pride. All the time, all the time, all the time. Yes. So before wholeness or perfection, there is humility, the opposite of it. Humility is especially honored because the Lord Himself who taught it in the forefront of His teaching. And this is what the Lord mentioned. If you want really to learn from me this, how gentle I am and how humble in my heart. St. Paul also said, let us have the mind of Christ. So what is the mind of Christ? You return back to Philippians chapter 2. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God. So he's not robbing anything, he's not stealing anything that is not his. He is God. But he made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a servant and coming in the likeness of men. Though he is God, he made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a servant and becoming in the likeness of men. This is something that's very, very hard to wrap our head around. Saint Baky is the founder of the communal monastic life. Seeing somebody with humble and pure heart is better than any miracles, because through him you see God the unseen. I say this again. Saint Pachomius of the communal life. Seeing somebody with humble and pure heart, if you see someone who's humble and always all the time, when they are humble, purity is kicked in. It comes package, bonus, together, combo. Purity with meekness with humbleness, add on, all the time. It is better than any scene or any miracle that you will think of, because through him, through this person who is humble and living a pure life, you will see God the unseen. You will see God the unseen. There was a servant in our church, and I recall this because I attended this event. There is a servant in our church, and this servant, it was in the Holy Week, in the Pascha week. And this servant did something that only the priest should do. He did it by mistake, but only the priest is allowed to do this. And when I saw him doing it, I felt weird, what's going on? Then one of the abunas saw him doing it. He called him on his mistake in the microphone. And Abuna took the microphone, he spoke to this person, because he did something really, really inappropriate in the church. When there is something that only the priest is doing, you as a deacon cannot do it. Definitely cannot do it. So that Abuna was very, very zealous, and it really bothered him. So he took the microphone and he started speaking face to face to this person, publicly in the microphone. It's a public humiliation. Unbelievable experience. And the deacon looking down on the ground, hearing all of this, being exposed. I said, this is the last time I'm seeing this deacon in my life. He will never come again to church. Big time. This is I was in maybe high school at that time. I said, khalas, this is the end of it. I will never see this person again after. This is a public humiliation in front of everyone in the microphone. Then this was on Good Friday, and it was Bright Saturday. And one of the questions that I had in my mind, will this servant come again to church after all what has happened, even if he did this mistake, after all this public humiliation? And he was the first to come on Bright Saturday. It blew my mind. Oh boy, look how humble is the heart of this young old. He was like my Sunday school teacher age. He was not my Sunday school teacher, but I was there in this event. How humble is the heart? This is the testing of when God is testing our heart in the furnace of humility or the furnace of humiliation. So if you want to see God, search for someone who is humble and having a pure heart, because by this you will be able to see him. The honor of the virtue of humility this is my favorite. If you want to take something, this is the favorite of the things that I have read and have collected or gone through about this topic of humility. You remember, humility is the foundation in the path. It is built in all the time in the way. You cannot take it away from the way. You cannot say, no, what, بس أنا, let me go the way till halfway, then I will think of humility. It's very, very important. Saint Augustine said this: humility attracts God to you. When you have bees and you have honey, the honey will attract the bees, or anything that is sweet, it attracts the flies and the bees to the sweet thing. So humility attracts God to you. Though he is haughty, though he is very, very high, as you humble yourself, he comes down to you. But if you become proud, he leaves you altogether. Again, humility attracts God to you. Attracts God to the humility. Though he is very high, as we say in the liturgy, as-sakin fil a'ali, who sits in the high places. As you humble yourself, he comes down to you. But if you become proud, he leaves you altogether. So when we have the meekness of the heart, or at least put it in our heart, in our life, and put it in our praise, and telling God, please God, teach me how to humble myself. Teach me the path of humility, because I cannot do it on my own. I'm full of anger and pride and show off, and what people are saying about me is really what concerns me, and what is my status and how I am perceived, and the car that I am driving, and the watch that I'm having, and the house that I'm living in, and all the things that humility attracts God to it. So pride expels angels. Pride expelled angels from heaven. What was the cause of the fall of Satanael, or the devil, is pride. Humility made the Son of God come down from heaven. So if he was with God, he is expelled from heaven, while humility made the Son of God come down from heaven to interact, or to incarnate and take flesh on earth. Pride led Adam out of the paradise. Humility admitted the right thief in the paradise. Pride confused the language of the mighty at the Tower of Babel when they were building the tower, because they were prideful, and they thought, we will go and build this high tower till we reach God. Humility gathered people with different tongues. So pride, in the time of Babylon, building the Tower of Babel, cast out all the people, and everyone started speaking tongues. Humility of the disciples in the day of the Pentecost spoke a sermon that has been heard by many tongues, because of the humble heart that they had. Pride transformed Nebuchadnezzar into a wild beast. He became living with the beasts in the wilderness, while humility raised Joseph to be the number one person in Egypt, number two person in Egypt, and put him in the forefront of the people of Israel. Pride drowned Pharaoh in the Red Sea, while humility lifted and elevated Moses up. There is a lot of major differences, but the wise will keep this in their mind. They will keep telling God, teach me, O Lord, how to live a humble life. Teach me, because you asked us to learn from me. I'm a very, very bad learner. I'm a very bad student when it comes to the school of humility. You teach me, you show me the path, because I cannot do it on my own. Once Saint Macarius the Great, the father, was asked, what is the greatest virtue, Father? He replied, if pride is considered the worst of all vices, to the extent that it cast almost a host of angels out of heaven, no doubt humility is the greatest of all virtues, because it is able to elevate the humble even if he is a sinner. It is able to elevate the humble even if he is a sinner. Divine graces which accompany the humble is unbelievable, because gifts are not offered for the good deeds themselves, but because of humility by which they are done. Gifts, when God is giving gifts to people, I think, for example, of Pope Kyrillos. All of us love Pope Kyrillos. All of us have heard about his great fame, miracles, tons of miracles he's doing, many miracles. One of the miracles, I heard it from a servant in our church. The president Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian president in that time, was visiting like an Air Force base, and the Pope was with him in the airplane. So they landed, all the leaders and all the army, the generals and the admirals, all the very top ranking personnel in the military, and the Air Force was there. So they are lining up. The president is shaking hand, the first, the second, the third, and the Pope is behind the president. In his turn, he came and he is also greeting the people, and he had chocolate. The Pope had chocolate with him, so he was giving chocolate to the army officers. So one of the generals is telling the Pope, I'm so sorry, I cannot eat chocolate. He told him why. He told him, I'm diabetic. So the Pope took with the cross, he made like this: no diabetes, no diabetes, Habibi, no diabetes. There is no diabetes. Take the chocolate and eat it. So this leader in the military army of Egypt said, you know, fine, whatever he's saying, he didn't care that much. He took the chocolate, he took a small piece, then he went home. Couple of days, he was having a checkup. He checked up and he found that there is no diabetes. And he did this miracle just on the spot. No diabetes, no fish سكر حبيبي, fish سكر. How great is Pope Kyrillos? Is mind blowing. But let me tell you about the story about Pope Kyrillos. You know, in some of the churches back home in Egypt, there is ma'allimin, or those who are very good in hymns, but this is their profession. Now you don't see it that much in the land of immigration, because you see people who are serving, that they are working different jobs, whatever is their job, but they are good in hymns and they are talented and they can lead hymns. But this job was those who many times they didn't have a chance of a very higher level of education, so they choose to enter the school of that offered by the church for those who are to be hymns leader, or many of them were blind because they didn't have the ability to learn, but they have a huge talent of listening and memorizing hymns and teaching hymns. So there is one pope in the Coptic church, and there is thousands of ma'allimin, or hymns leaders, in hundreds of churches. So one day the Pope is entering the cathedral, and he was praying the Vespers. So he took off his shoes and he put it nearby under one of the pews. And the Pope entered, he prayed, started praying, and when two of the youth passed by and they looked to the ground and they said, oh, this is the shoes of the Pope. No way that the Pope would be putting on his feet in these shoes. This is, we need to take it. They took the old shoes, they took the size of it, they ran outside of the cathedral, they bought the Pope a very brand new shoes, and they were very excited. They did a great thing for the Pope, and they are very happy, and they put it in the place of the old shoes of the Pope, and they returned back to their seats and they pretended that nothing happened. So the Pope finished his prayers. He's looking for his shoes. He didn't find his shoes, the old one. So those two young men came to the Pope and they told him, Sayyidina, please, we did something, so we are so sorry that we did this, but we said it is not appropriate that our great Pope Kyrillos, we didn't say this, but we all know how great he is having this old shoes. Please accept this as a new, as a gift from us. It is new shoes. So Pope Kyrillos looked to them and they told him, he told them, I think Al-Mu'allim deserves it more. The hymns leader, he deserves it more. He is walking on his foot, but I have the privilege of taking the car of the patriarch, and I don't walk that much, so and he took the new shoes of the Pope, and he put it beside the feet of al-Muallim or the hymns leader in the cathedral, and he told them, this is a gift for you. What is this? What is this? He doesn't even feel that he deserves from within to have this, and he counted this as a very, he is not worthy of having it. And he said that al-Muallim, that we have thousands of them in the church, the Pope is thinking this, that this Muallim is a higher level, or he is seeing him better than the Pope. How humble is his heart. That's why God is giving him that abundance of miracles. So Saint Isaac, the saint, said, gifts are not offered for the good deeds themselves. When God is giving gifts for the people, I mean gifts, miracles, and casting out demons and healing and so forth, but because of humility of which they are done. If you hear that somebody acquired in a short time a great gift, such as lack of suffering or making miracles, be sure that he acquired this through humility. If someone is getting a great gift, usually they are humble people. What gives humility a great honor is that God loves and looks to the humble. Through the Lord is on high, yet he regards the lowly. He looks to the lowly. You remember what Saint Mary said about herself? Nazara ila ttiba'amatu. He has looked to the humbleness or the meekness of his maidservant. God is looking to those who are humble and picking them and elevating them all the way up, because those are very close to his heart. Because he said, if you want to learn from me the life of meekness and humility. I dwell in the high and holy place with him who has a country. And God is saying, I am dwelling in the high place, and I'm also dwelling with him who has a contrite and humble spirit, who is humble in his heart, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. God is very, very close to those who are humble and those who are meek. And this gives us also a reason for why humility is that great. Humility is the holy robe that the saints put on and wrap themselves with, because it covers the sins of others, because it as if you are putting on the Lord Jesus Christ himself. God gives grace to the humble. When we put on the robe of meekness and humility, God is giving us grace. Do you know what does it mean God is giving you grace? I remember a business owner one day told me this. Abuna, there is something weird about this guy who's working for me. So I told him, what is the problem? He told me, no, there is no problem. But there is something very, very unique. I have a problem in my job. I send this employee, the problem is solved, and I get, so people are on fire, they are going to sue us as a business, going crazy. And I get thank you letter from the people after a couple of weeks of sending this Christian Coptic guy to the business. I have people who are fighting together. I sent this employer who was working for me in this location, and everything is peaceful and no problems is happening. We have a problem with one of the vendors, and I sent that. It's unbelievable. This guy is doing miracles. So I was very intrigued to know about this person and to know what is really the key of this person. And he was a man who has a humble heart. When you are humble, God will give you grace in the eyes of others. Grace in the eyes of others is, I don't know what to tell you, how to tell you this, but I will tell you. When I was in college, I was going to church for a regular liturgy, and the abunas who were praying the liturgies, they canceled for whatever reason. They had different liturgies prayed somewhere else, and 3 abunas entered the church. 3 abunas. I haven't seen them before. I haven't talked to them before. I have nothing to do about that. Never saw them. And those 3 abunas entered the church, but one of them was unique. There was something. You see the 3, but you go and greet this one. I don't know why, but this is how it is. You see the 3 walking in, but you go, and the first one to walk to is this priest. Then he looked different. Was very, very attractive. Not that he is good looking. No, he was very attractive in the heart, in his smile, in his demeanor. Very, very, very. you find that people are attracted to him all the way. Then we attended the liturgy, and it happened that this priest prayed the liturgy, and it was one of the most remarkable liturgies I have attended. Then this is not a thing that I usually do, but I asked, who is this Abuna? What is his name? And I knew after this that this Abuna, his name was Abuna Yohanna Nabih. If you have heard of, he departed after maybe 9 years in priesthood, very early in his priesthood, and he chose to serve in a very poor area. Though he was not from living in this poor area, but he left everything in his place, and he moved very close to the area that he was serving, as far as I recall. And this priest had something unique. I'm just telling you about this grace that you see in someone. When a person is humble, he will have grace. God will give him grace in the eyes and the hearts of the people who are around him. Like this worker, Coptic guy who is working for this owner of the business, any problem he goes, because God is giving him, this humble man, grace in the eyes of people. He just diffuses the tension. He just solves the problem. He creates peace. He inspires people to be more peaceful. Something beyond. But the key is the humbleness and the meekness of the heart. In the world to come, the humble will enjoy a special distinct or special privileges, and it will be considered the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Look to what the Lord said. Whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So those who are very high in the kingdom of heaven, and after we leave this world and see the greatness of the people who are with God, this greatness is based on how humble they were and how meek they were. Finally, it is the Christian virtue which the world will never teach. This is something that you will not find in any religion. There's the meekness and the humbleness of the heart and the gentleness. Especially in the secular world. No one is speaking about this. Let me end with a story that happened in the history of Plato or Aflaton. He was a very famous philosopher. Well, he made a great party and invited some of the other philosophers. And there was a philosopher that was known of his aesthetic towards the glories. He's refusing any glorious things. And so this philosopher, his name is Diogenes. And so Plato is having this party, invited all the philosophers. This is a great philosopher, but he doesn't like the show off. So the party started, and he decorated Plato decorated his house with carpets, costly stuff that is there all over on the ground, everywhere, very fancy place, because he was rich. And when Plato questioned, so Diogenes is entering, he stepped with a very dirty shoes and worn out clothes, and started to tread or to step on these carpets and the covers on the ground. And so Plato was very upset. He said, you know what, this is ridiculous. So Plato questioned this behavior, and he told him, why you are stepping with the very unclean shoes and this? Yeah, you are dirty, and why you are stepping on this stuff? He said, Diogenes said, this is the two philosophers. He said, I step upon the pride of the arrogance of Plato. I step upon the pride and the arrogance of Plato. And when Plato heard this, he answered and said, it is true that you tread upon the arrogance of Plato, but you do that by another arrogance. But you do this by another arrogance. In the secular world, nobody gets the concept of humility. The devil cannot get the concept of the humility, because he is mixed with pride in his core. And that's why when they appear to Saint Anthony the Great, they told Saint Anthony, you know what, you fast for a long time, we don't even fast. You wake up for a lot of hours, and you have very little sleep because you are praying. We don't even sleep. You do this, but you have something that we cannot comprehend, we don't have. And by this, you conquer us. You are humble. We don't have humility. This is one of the reasons why people, when they are humble, they cannot be conquered in their spiritual life, because they have a lot of victory in everything they go through, because the devil cannot attack them. May God give us that we will learn how great is the meekness and the humbleness. And every night I beg you to do this in front of God. Tell God, teach me how to humble my heart. Teach me how I could learn this, because I'm not a good student in the school of humility. I fail, and I need you to give me like extra credit, support me, teach me how to do this. And tomorrow we'll speak about the meekness in the life of the Lord and in the saints, to whom is the glory forever and ever. And may God be with you. May God bless you. Please pray for me.